Hi, welcome to the Retro Game Club Podcast, Season 6, Episode 24, which is also Episode 187. And joining me are other people who are broke from Black Friday, Hugh and Zach. Hi.
Hello.
Hey, I actually didn't buy anything.
I bought...
Good for you.
sorry, go on, Zach.
No, I didn't. I don't think I bought anything either on Black Friday. I bought a couple of things today that just happens to be Cyber Monday, but it wasn't because it was some great deal. I just needed stuff.
I happened to, on Black Friday, my kid had soccer next to the mall here. And so I took my daughter there unknowingly on Black Friday into a mall. And it was a bit nuts, but, mall culture here is alive and well. It is like 1993 Americana. There's not an empty storefront in the mall. All the middle kiosk areas are full. People be shopping. I kind of love it, actually. It's very convenient, and it really is like every suburb here has its own giant mall. They're all owned by the same billionaire, but...
Yeah, it's all Simon Properties or something, right?
Yeah. And so, but I didn't buy anything there, but online at the only kind of retro store here, they had a few sales. So I got so many, I think 13 boxed Lynx games for a very good deal. And then just a few random really good deals on PS4 and PS5 games. So I'm broke. I could literally not buy another game for the rest of my life and have enough.
Yeah, actually, I take that back. I bought a car battery because my kid managed to kill the battery in her car. Does that count as Black Friday shopping?
Well, at least you didn't buy it for your wife for Christmas or something. A car battery.
No, that would be a fairly unromantic gift, I suppose.
Yeah, my dad bought my mom tires once. And he was like, well, you needed tires. We're broke. So.
Okay. That's a good one. We could, yeah. I mean, traumatic Christmas stories would be a good podcast.
Yes.
Like just a seasonal one. We'd have to find a few people. I mean, not like really traumatic stuff, not like there was a...
Not abusive or whatever.
In my house.
Yeah.
Right? Yeah, like...
My wife will ask me to replace the windshield wipers or something for Christmas. Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, hey, that's an easy one. It's good when people tell you what they want. Speaking of Christmas stories, I was just reminded about this. I used to work every Christmas Eve at the guitar store by my house. And it was always fun, last minute gifts and people picking up gifts that they ordered before. And we were just kind of all hanging out in the back, having some beers and stuff. I'm pretty sure I was underage at the time too. But a cop came in one year and, we were like, he just looked tired. And I was like, busy day? And he was like, man, Christmas Eve is the worst. I was like, why? What? It seems like everyone would be happy. And he was like, it's those damn Santas. He says, I have to pull over at least a dozen drunk Santas every Christmas Eve.
That makes sense.
So that could be...
Don't worry, kids. The real Santa is sober right now.
Yeah. Yes. Yes, kids. And his helpers are not. And so that could be a good podcast too. Like just interview Santas. I'm sure they all have their stories.
Yeah, I don't know if you want to hear all those stories. I mean, some places get real, nice Santas, I suppose. We used to go to, I know this is way off topic. We don't have a lot of news on the agenda. We used to go to Bass Pro Shop for Santa because they had a actual old guy with a beard and stuff. Someone that actually looked like Santa versus... a teenager in the Santa costume. Not like going to the Santa Claus at Thornton's gas station.
He's sitting in front of the gun rack.
Yeah. It was near the boating area. I think the idea was that, dads would go look at boats while their kids were in line to see Santa.
Mm-hmm. Do they have Bass Pro West Sac?
Yeah.
That's national.
Couldn't tell you where the nearest one is, but I've definitely seen one around.
Well, what else have you guys been up to?
I put a couple. What did I write? I wrote some stuff in the old notes here, but now I got to open them, which is always something I should do ahead of time. I noticed the PlayStation Portal got kind of good lately. So on one of our Ask Us Anything or one of our bonus episodes, I talked about my experiences a little bit with the PlayStation Portal, which has been kind of mixed. But I saw that they just did an update where you can stream games. You don't need a PS5 now. Mm-hmm. You can stream 100 different games.
So you can have just the Portal. You don't need a PS4 or a PS5.
Nope. You just have to have the priciest of the PlayStation subscriptions.
Okay.
Do you have that?
I got it because I saw that this now supported 100 games.
There's a few PS1 and PS2 games in there too, right?
Yeah, there were some classics. I don't remember everything that was on there. It's not the full library of things you get access to if you have the PlayStation account, whatever it's called. Mm-hmm. But it's GTA 5 is on there. Mm-hmm. That's a pretty big game, right?
Have you tested this yet?
I did, yeah. I tried a couple. I played Human Fall Flat because I remember one of my kids liked that game, so I tried it. I found it kind of annoying, but it worked perfectly. Very long first time boot. It was probably 5 minutes for the thing to start the first time.
Yeah, it's loading it on a server for you.
Minutes.
Yeah,
it's probably all on the server or something. It's all sampling in the cloud. I don't know. Once the thing started playing, it was great. Played perfectly.
The ghost of Stadia.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Sony has I think has a better chance of pulling it off than.
But I mean, I think my point is Stadia worked fine. It literally worked fine. Just no one cared.
Yeah, and I think Sony's doing this because Microsoft is doing something similar with the Xbox now. So that was kind of fun. I'm gonna wait to see if there's anything more interesting on it, but right now, I mean, there's like I said, it's got 100 games, and it's hard for me to tell what I'll actually like of those 100 games. So I got to poke around with it some more.
The rumor is that it's only 100 because they're beta. This is their beta. It's it's the ones they had time to test.
Exactly. Yeah. I know in the full collection of games available for PlayStation Online, there was definitely, I don't recall offhand, but there's definitely some things I'm like, oh yeah, I want to play that. So,
I could be wrong.
So no PS5 required. You just,
yeah, just like Xbox Live, kind of. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure PlayStation 4 and 5 are both. I forget if it's OpenBSD or FreeBSD variants. So I wonder if just their servers for this are some weird BSD, I don't know, clusters. Really strange, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think I played it at maybe a quiet time for streaming. I'm not sure. Day after Christmas, I'm sure they all go down. So.
Yes.
I also played a bit of Donkey Kong Land. That just got added to the Switch Game Boy collection. So that's a really good game. If you like the Donkey Kong Country franchise, it's a pretty good imitation of the original Donkey Kong Country. And you get the rewind feature, so that helps out a lot.
They further downsample the graphics, I guess, for that.
Well, yeah. I mean, it's weird. They don't do, unless I'm just completely bad at using the Switch. The Game Boy collection doesn't do Game Boy. There's Game Boy and there's Game Boy Color, and there's separate things on there. Mm-hmm. So you can't put the Game Boy games into Game Boy Color mode.
Oh, and get the artificial palette.
Yeah.
That is
I feel
weird.
like Donkey Kong Land would benefit from that. But it's cool. It's a really cool addition to the library. I think it's totally worth the 4 or 5 hours it takes to play through that game. And then last night, literally breaking news, I finally started the new Zelda game last night.
I just finished it last night.
Yeah. And it really reminds me of Captain Toad Treasure Tracker more than it does Zelda.
I could see that for sure. I don't think you're the first person to say that. Yeah.
Okay. So that's about it for me, man. Zach, you been up to anything good?
Yeah, what did you think of it, Zach?
I overall liked it very much. I like literally just finished it last night. Like even stayed up a little bit past my bedtime to do so because I thought I was near the end. I do like it. I don't want to say too much because I don't want to spoil it for Hughes, but I would say woke Zelda isn't woke enough would be my complaint. But for the most part, I like it. There's, I don't know, maybe 40% of the map and features that I never once used. So I felt like it was a little too easy. You know, I wasn't really motivated to try out some of these other things. I didn't feel like I needed to ever once make a potion. So, but I do like it. I think a hot take, I like it better than Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, which I have been pretty vocal about not liking. Mm-hmm. So I did like this one at least.
Well, good. Yeah, I liked it too.
Besides that, I've just been pretty busy in podcasting. I have like 4-ish episodes in flux for my own show. Absolutely the best podcast, a work in progress.
How do people find it?
I mean, if you just Google absolutely the best podcast, you're going to find it, but absolutelythebest.net is something you can type in. It's basically, Hardcore Gaming 101.
Yeah.
Top 47,000, whatever. It's like that, but for the Marvel Cinematic Universe and with about 47,800 less things to rank.
Yeah.
But we just go through them all, discuss the movie, and we have a definitive ranking for that. Then let's see. I did some guest spots too. I was on Games My Mom Found talking about Carry On. Have you played that?
No.
Pretty good game. I was mostly disappointed that there was no map. But
that does annoy me.
we had a long discussion about it. I think like 30 minutes about whether or not it needed a map or not. And then there's a show called Nerds of Broadcast that one is not out yet. And that was a little bit more like nerdy trivia stuff that I did surprisingly poorly at.
It's always hard once you're on the spot.
Yes. Yeah. And you're being recorded. My brain immediately goes blank.
Yeah.
And then this is funny. I was listening to the Pie Factory podcast the other day, and Sean, one of the hosts in there, he said Beazle, the way you say it, Rob.
It might be a Midwest thing.
I guess so. That was the only other person I've ever heard say Beazle instead of Bezel. So that's basically it. You know, I traveled for Thanksgiving, went to upstate New York, got a lot of snow on Turkey Day. Mm-hmm. It was good.
So wait, did someone immediately write in to correct their pronunciation?
That was the latest episode, so probably, but we won't find out yet.
I think I wrote into that episode. I should listen to it.
I don't think they read any feedback, because I wrote in a couple of weeks ago about something. They didn't read that. I don't think they read anybody's. So I don't know if they just were saving it for something else, or maybe they skipped over us.
Yeah, that's a good plan.
Well, should we podcast?
We should.
Yeah, let's go ahead.
I dumped some news on you all.
Yeah. I tried to look real quick.
Yeah, it did. For our listeners, I put in all these news items right before we started.
All of them but the first one.
Yeah, and the first one is there are upside down capacitors in some of the Mac LC3s, which is like the pizza box Macs. And apparently, if you look at the silk screening on the PC board, it's a little bit off. So this is on Ars Technica, and it's kind of a PSA to, if you're recapping these boards, to make sure you're actually going to where the traces are, and maybe not where the silk screen tells you to go, because it may be off. Really strange that this one hasn't been talked about before.
Yeah, it's weird because the LC3 didn't really have a high failure rate or anything. They seemed to work just fine.
Exactly, yeah.
The hypothesis there was that there was enough other capacitors on that voltage line to keep the power steady. But I guess on almost every one of them, you find a capacitor. And I guess people, they'll recap it and then immediately pop that one because they're just looking at the plus and minus designations on the board.
Yeah. So weird. So that's not retro gaming, but I thought it was really interesting. But with retro gaming, there's IndyRetroNews.com has this this is so hard to pronounce, InfeZtation. And this is a stunning new Commodore 64 platformer. Kind of shooter platformer, run and gun kind of thing. More platforming than run and gun, I guess. And it looks beautiful. I watched this video. The sound isn't, up there with other C64 games, but this is a really pretty and fun-looking game.
What did you think of that demo footage, though?
What do you mean?
I thought it looked like somebody who had never played the game before. They kept going back and forth, like they didn't know what they were doing, and it got boring very quickly.
Yeah, I was bouncing around it. I was like fast forwarding, like bouncing around the video, so I didn't really notice that.
I would have liked to have seen some of the, like they said that these boss battles, it would have been nice to see some of that footage. But it just seemed like somebody farting around with it for the first time.
That's funny. Yeah. I think I was mostly looking at what it looked like instead of what they were doing. But yeah, that is weird. That's kind of like, I guess this could be news, but to get us off topic, have you guys watched any YouTube videos about that? What's that new Sega FPGA thing coming out that everyone thinks is a scam? It's like
the Scamatron 2000, something like that.
something. It's supposed to play every single kind of Sega game. And anytime they go to start something, they cut video.
This is why I'm not doing retro game podcasting anymore. Really, like every year there's just a story of some scam console like this. And we had one where I think early this year, the three of us in an email thread, I said, please, I do not want to talk about this thing on the show. And now I don't remember what it was. It was
I don't remember either, but
yeah, it was like, hey, we're going to make a better Steam Deck and we're going to crowdfund it. And then nobody backed it, right? Like it was I don't remember all the specifics.
It was the people that coded EmuDeck. That's right.
Yeah. And I'm like, I want to talk about this on the show. I should have preemptively sent this one out too. Yeah, I mean, they have an idea, but they don't have anything implemented. And from what I understand, the videos are super shady.
Totally shady. And the strange thing is that the Polymega was supposed to be an FPGA machine. And then they just I think it was kickstarted, right? I could be wrong.
Yep.
But they totally did a 180 and it's just software emulation now. People seem to like it and they seem to be doing a good job, but that was not the original plan. But yeah, whatever that Sega thing is, it's not looking too good. Apparently, what's this video game Esoterra? Is that channel? They contacted him to try to do an interview, and he gave them a list of questions he was going to ask them, and they said, never mind. So there you go. They're like, oh, no, we just wanted to talk about where you could buy this thing. That's all. But speaking of Sega, a Saturn cult classic, Princess Crown, is now getting an uncensored translation. And if you read that, it's not rated X type stuff. It's just a few swear words.
I know. I read the article while we were looking at the other one. It looks to me more like random dudes feuding on the internet about a game translation. Is how I read that article.
Well, the translation does exist now. So I'd never heard of this game.
You can download this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So, yeah. Have you heard of this game?
I've never heard of it. But if you're psyched for it, I'm happy for you.
Yeah. And what else?
I never had a Saturn either, though.
No, it seemed like the lesser of the two consoles at the time, to me at least.
Yeah, it's all right for playing Sega arcade games of that era.
Mm-hmm.
It's not. I don't dislike the Saturn. I have one, and I have a shelf of games somewhere over here. It's mostly arcade games. Although some arcade games are really bad, like Mortal Kombat 2 on the Saturn is like the worst version of Mortal Kombat 2 you will ever play.
Oh, doesn't it have load times mid-fight?
Yeah, it's basically unplayable. Yeah, if you play as the morphing guy Shang Tsung, it's unplayable.
Yes, I've heard of that.
But not a scam. If you have your 7800 plus Atari console, there's a new game you could get. Well, even if you have your old 7800. Bounty Bob Strikes Back. It's a new Miner 49er game.
Yeah, I don't know Miner 49er. I don't know why they didn't call it like Miner 2059er or something like Bounty Bob. I that meant nothing to me. I'd heard of Miner 2049er at least, but I don't know why they didn't stick with that naming convention. But I guess if you were like hardcore into the original game, that might mean something to you.
Well, and apparently this plays on the Atari 2600 Plus as well, which I did not realize that accepted 7800 cards. I had no idea.
Isn't that just an emulation machine?
It is, yeah.
Yeah, I guess I just missed that. I mean, you could take
it looks like 2600 graphics too. It's not. I didn't think it was that impressive. So I guess it's the lower resolution mode for the 7800.
Yeah, it does not look like the almost NES of the 7800. But it'd be interesting to see some reviews of that. And that's our news, right? Not a lot. But no topic this week other than I just wanted to mention that the DS turned 20 between our episodes. And do you guys have any DS memories? Hugh, were you working in a store when it launched?
No, I was working a real job. We came out 20 years ago, you said, right?
Yeah.
Come on, I had a kid by then in a master's degree.
Time doesn't mean anything anymore.
Yeah, no, that was quite a while since I had been working at a game store. So 2004, yeah. So I had just finished graduate school. I had like a 1-year-old at home. I was mostly at that point in life playing like GameCube and I guess Dreamcast. I still had some Dreamcast games on my backlog. And I first saw the DS and I thought, well, that's not going anywhere. I know I wrote about this in an article on my website where I just saw the DS. I'm like, well, that's not going to work out. Which is probably the most wrong I've ever been about a system in my entire life.
It seemed like a weird idea at the time. I had probably the same thought as you. I remember seeing it in a Best Buy, and I think they had the Metroid Prime Hunters demo on it, which was of interest to me, but I wasn't going to buy that specifically for that game.
The original DS looked like a demo unit. It looked like
Yes.
like something you would program to. I don't know. Yeah, I really didn't get one till the DSi, which was a huge upgrade because we had the DS and then the DS Lite, both of which were 66 megahertz and 33 megahertz dual processor. I don't know what the different processors are used for. But then the DSi doubled the megahertz across the board and a lot more RAM. And then gave you a camera and an online store, which is kind of awesome. I didn't use any of the online stuff, but you also lost the Game Boy Advance cartridge slot.
Yeah, I feel like that was a big loss for me because I had the DS Lite, and it was also my Game Boy. And then when I did eventually upgrade to the DSi. And then I forget, was the clamshell GBA already out then? I think it must have been.
I feel like it was. Was that the SP?
Yeah, the GBA SP. So I don't remember if I had one already and I got it back out or if I bought one, but I had to go back to using that for my GBA games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I still have a big DS backlog that I will eventually get to. We'll see.
What do you have? What are some of the top games there?
Oh geez, Here, wait. Let me quickly. I love this question, but give me a minute so I could pull up because they're all in storage right now. Let me pull up the database of my collection. And
I don't feel like I ever had that many games for it. I eventually did Metroid Prime Hunters. Brain Age was one I liked for a long time.
Mm-hmm.
And then like there was I think 2 Legend of Zelda games, Spirit Tracks and Phantom Hourglass.
Phantom Hourglass. Yeah, Phantom Hourglass is pretty. So, my own history is I bought the DS for Phantom Hourglass. I ended up buying a Nintendo DS Lite when that came out. So that was like the first major hardware revision. So at this point, I realized, okay, fine, I guess the DS is going to be around. Mm-hmm. And I bought it for, basically to play Phantom Hourglass. But I picked up quite a few other RPGs. The DS is really, I think the Legacy is one of the best RPG systems. Mm-hmm. You have conversions of a lot of the Final Fantasy games on there. Of course, you have all the Pokemon games. Some of the Dragon Warrior games got ported. The worst version of Ys is on Nintendo DS.
By far, yeah.
If you've ever played the DS version, but it's really, really bad, unfortunately.
It came with a CD, though, which is cool.
Yeah, it came with a music CD. But that soundtrack is also one of the worst conversions of the soundtrack. And not like I'm sounding super negative here, but it's just not a very good version of Ys. And then the 3DS, of course, I own at least 3 3DSs at this point, and you can consider that excessive, but I don't, I guess. One of those 3DSs is the one that I have the special cartridge for. By coincidence, I was just looking at the special cartridges last night because one of my kids was asking about getting one. One of my kids, I got one for already because they wanted to play all the Pokemon games. But the other one, the one with the dead car battery, was curious about it too. I assume you own like this, what we call the special cartridge for the Nintendo DS.
Oh yeah, absolutely, yeah. But I also own a ton of games, so. And I'll share this my game list in Discord, no problem. But the one, so I'm just scrolling through quickly, and I'm just gonna blast out the ones that I want to play. N Plus, both Band Hero and Guitar Hero. You have to plug in this little thing into the GBA slot, and that's the guitar pick things. Dig Dug, Digging Strike, Okami Den, that Ninja Gaiden Dragon Sword game, Moon, not Ys, not Indiana Jones, Gremlins Gizmo, which is a Nintendogs like, but for Gizmo.
Okay, so I want to take a break right here for 1 second. Like, if we created a game where you named DS games and asked me if they were real or fake, I don't think I would have gotten that one right.
True.
If I was like M&M's Big Brain Academy.
Yeah, it's real.
Wait, is that real?
No. Exit DS, Electroplankton. See, it's just like I'm making stuff up. I have a funny astrology DS cart, so you could do your astrology games. One I have played through, Bangai-O Spirits, which is fantastic. Touch the Dead. That's
I might not have believed that one either.
Steel Horizon's supposed to be fantastic. Squishy Tank is supposed to be fantastic. Soul Bubbles supposed to be great. Populous I played on this show. And let's see. The Legend of Kage 2. Yeah, and that's like...
I didn't realize there was a sequel.
That's like 1/5 of my collection. Oh, there's a lot in there.
But you already have these games.
Yes, I own them. They're just in storage in Bondi. So I'll share this pretty soon. I'll share my price charting list on Discord.
Okay. Yeah, and I bought like there's a couple different Bust a Move games, and I bought them all from the Square Enix store on a Black Friday sale. Mm-hmm. So that's always a weird site to visit, since we're talking about Black Friday. I mean, up until recent years, you could buy sealed copies of like Final Fantasy VII for the PlayStation for, $4.99 on Black Friday from the Square Enix store. They would occasionally, I don't know if they just like would randomly find a pallet of games or something, but they would have like previous gen games sealed for next to nothing all the time there.
Yeah, I remember they had Vita games, didn't they, a few years ago?
Yeah. Yeah, they had Vita games. Because I bought some from that too. Why not? But yeah, I got like Bust a Move and a few others from there. Played through, it's kind of good. Like I played through Final Fantasy 3, the original Final Fantasy 3 on there. Probably was 2 on there also, probably. That might have been Game Boy Advance. I might be confusing myself. And of course, this is a system with, for backwards compatibility. This played Game Boy Advance games pretty much until, did the 3DS play Game Boy Advance also?
No.
There was no slot for it, but I'm sure there was like a virtual console for it or something.
Yeah. Well, yeah, it's true. They did have virtual console with Super Nintendo games even. So that was pretty cool to see. No version of Doom. There's not a good version, not a official release of Doom on the DS.
Oh, that's
surprising.
Yeah, ironically, the one system that really would have made sense, because you could have like the map or, buttons on the bottom.
There's a homebrew DS Doom. That's it.
Also, the Scribblenauts games on DS were a big hit for me.
I've never played those. Are they impressive?
Yeah, they're really fun until you kind of figure out that most of the levels can be solved with just like 1 or 2 items.
Mm-hmm. Well, you could say the same thing about Echoes of Wisdom.
Yeah.
My son was playing Scribblenauts on his iPad on the plane ride back, actually.
I didn't realize that got a port. That's cool.
Yeah. Oh, it's on everything now. Yeah. But it started as a DS game, and that was really a great platform for a game like that.
Mm-hmm. Cool. Any closing DS remarks?
I mean, I still use it on trips. Like if last time I was on an airplane, I brought it along and played through one of the I almost said Ace Attorney games. If I told you Ace Ventura for DS, you'd probably have to think about whether that was real or not.
Yeah, it probably is real. Yeah.
Yeah, I think you just fed like an AI titles of DS games. It could probably crank out some pretty convincing fakes.
Every cartoon from back then had a DS game.
Everything. Oh yeah. Yeah. I mean, I get it. It was a system that, I'm talking about games like RPGs and stuff that are more adult themed. I don't mean adult in like an R-rated way. I just mean, they require a lot of reading. Games for like little kids. I mean, once the DS was affordable, I mean, they made models specifically for kids, the 2DS Indestructible. I don't know if you've ever seen one of those.
The original one that's like it doesn't fold.
Yeah, the original one that you can like, bludgeon a wolf to death with. Like, it looks cheap, but it is, it's meant to be pretty much indestructible. And like, I mean, obviously at that point they knew this is a system a lot of people are just buying for their kids. And yeah, it was a great kid system, but to your point, like so much like kiddie shovelware.
Back then, the PSP got more of my time for sure when the two were new systems. It just had, well, I guess the DS also does have GTA games like the PSP did.
There's one GTA game on the DS.
The Chinatown
Wars.
Yeah.
Which it's all right. It's a little bit like Taipan on the Apple II, because a whole lot of it is about like, I'm going to buy, this drug in this neighborhood and sell it in this other neighborhood where it goes for more.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's a lot of the game, is driving between the neighborhoods and, trying to upsell, find cheaper items and resell them, all that stuff.
I mean, that's literally the gameplay for Trade Wars 2002 from the BBS systems.
Yeah, yeah, that all goes back to good old Taipan on Apple II or whatever else it's
Yeah,
on.
yeah. Well, should we bounce to some Game Club games?
Yeah, yeah.
Bonk 3, Bonk's Big Adventure. So, this was the last Bonk game in the series that we have to do. Minus the Game Boy games, but we've talked about them a lot. This is easily the worst one. You know, they added more to it, but it took away from the gameplay. And this came out in 1993, right? Super Mario World, you know, the first 16-bit Super Mario Brothers game, came out in 1990. Like, they had 3 years, and they were already in 16-bit. Like, they could have done a lot more with this and really tightened up the gameplay. I do consider this, like, the new Super Mario Brothers of the series. Like, you know, that's where Mario could get big, just like Bonk could get big. And none of them really worked. You can't really do anything when you're big. It's annoying. And the spin mechanic when you're in the air, jumping, is really annoying when you have meat powers because it kind of changes the way you spin for the worse. The music out of the series is the worst. It's not bad, but the music in the first 2 games were just great. And, you know, I brought up Mario Brothers before, but, you know, if you take Mario Brothers, Super Mario Brothers, Mario 2, Mario 3, they each iterated in a great way, and each one kind of looked a little bit better, played a little bit better. You know, it doesn't matter which one you like the best. And you could say the same about most of the original Mega Man games. This just didn't do that. The Bonk games, like, Bonk's Revenge is, I think, debatably the best one. Or objectively the best one, even though I like Bonk's Adventure the best. But none of them really did anything better. You know, stage design, I think, peaked in Bonk's Revenge for sure. And, you know, instead of taking cues from Super Mario World or Yoshi's Island, they took cues from China Warrior. You know, you get squished into this crab. It just didn't make sense, you know. What this did add is 2-player co-op mode, but I didn't have anyone else to play with, so I didn't try it. But I watched some video, and it looked like co-op Contra. It looked kind of fun. This is the first time I beat it, and the ending is just that. It's just a 1-page ending and some credit scroll. There's 1 programmer and 10 or more special thanks, and then you're back to the intro. No cool animation or anything like that. So that's my take on this. How much does this game cost now? Like $900?
Yeah, $8 trillion, I believe.
What do you think about it?
Well, so I tried the CD version for a little bit. Got up to the first boss.
I should say I played the card version.
Okay. So I felt like this was just a ROM hack of
Yep.
Bonk's Revenge. Like, it's like Bonk's Revenge, but there's just a bunch of goofy stuff added.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and again, Bonk is always kind of a silly game. I mean, it's always been a silly game. But it felt a little over the top. I also tried the card version, and I didn't really notice any difference between them. I know you mentioned one maybe plays a little faster.
Yeah, the car, what's it? The CD one has less frames per second, less animation frames.
Okay. I didn't notice anything, but I'm kind of oblivious to these types of things anyways. So one thing I put in my notes here. Tiny Bonk is a better idea than Giant Bonk.
Yep.
Because there were actually places where you needed to be Tiny Bonk to, like, you know, get to some part of the map.
Those were cool puzzles.
They were, yeah. We have to, like, figure out when you're supposed to be Tiny Bonk versus regular Bonk to get around.
Mm-hmm.
So I thought that was cool. Giant Bonk is just kind of useless.
Yeah.
So I did not care for that. So I was looking. So the chip version of this appears in the 1993 Christmas Electronics Boutique catalog. It is the last one to have a TurboGrafx section at all.
It's listed next to the Intelligent Link.
It is the Vaporware Intelligent Link, which I think we talked about recently.
Yep.
John Madden Duo CD Football. It also features Dungeon Explorer 2 with the description of Dungeon Master 2. It's a different game description on this ad. They're describing a different game. And it only gets half a page. The other half of the page, it is shared with a crossword puzzle solver, Snow White and the Seven Dwarves LCD game, and Jurassic Park and Street Fighter 2 LCD handhelds.
And I also wanted to point out that at that time, in this Christmas 1993 catalog, the Turbo Duo itself cost as much as a Sega CD2 with the Genesis 2.
Yes.
That's crazy.
It is. The best deal in this whole catalog to me is that you could buy the new compact NES for $49.99.
Yeah, that is crazy.
That's one of the best deals in this whole catalog. This is a catalog I don't remember I scanned, but I didn't add any commentary to because I think I was feeling some kind of burnout.
The top loader NES, right?
The top loader NES.
I do not like those controllers that came with that.
I like those.
They're like the dog bone controller.
Yeah,
right?
they just the angle of the A and B buttons were backwards to me. If that makes sense.
Yeah. Now, of course, that was still cheaper. Now, what's funny is this catalog has the Philips CDI, which I was working in the store. I was working in the store in 1993. And we didn't have the Philips CDI in the store. Never once appeared in the store. I don't know why it's in the catalog. Maybe some store had it. I don't know.
That's funny.
Yeah.
It's probably to get you into the store and be like, oh, we're all sold out. Why don't you buy this other thing?
Yeah, no one ever even came in to ask about it. I mean, just zero.
The only place I've ever seen a CDI other than a workplace that owned one that I worked at was Sears. Sears seemed to just stock up on them.
Yeah, it was.
Remember there being one.
I scanned a Sears catalog at some point that has CDI in it as well. There's a whole bunch of like vaporware and like prototype box art in this catalog. I really should go back and add some comments to it because I think if just looking at it, you're going to miss that there's like a vaporware Sega CD game in there. Night Trap is still being advertised, even though I think maybe this is around the time it got pulled because of people who don't understand what video game violence is. I guess I don't know how else to put it. $700 Philips CDI. That's all in this catalog.
Zach, what do you think of Bonk 3?
I did not get a chance to actually play it, but I kind of half paid attention to a speed run at 1.5x speed. I've never really played Bonk at all before any of the games, except for the Bonk's Adventure. Is that the first one?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. I think when you guys picked it at some point, I played it a little bit because I had it on the TurboGrafx 16 Mini. I think I would have liked it a lot better back in the day. But like I said, I watched the speed run, and the thing that I remember most about it is the parts where Bonk has to squeeze through a tube.
Mm-hmm.
Like that really bothers me.
The way he morphs.
It just like triggered my anxiety, like to be stuck in a tube like that. Like, which sounds weird. It's just like an 8-bit game, but I don't know. That's what stood out to me most.
That is a cool animation, though.
Yes, but I didn't care for it.
Yeah, I don't blame you. Yeah. All right, how about Zelda 2: The Adventure of Link?
Yeah, so I actually did a full playthrough of this on the Switch in the past 2 weeks. But I did play the version where you start with all your levels maxed out. So throw that out there. The game is a whole lot faster and easier up until the last dungeon.
Wait, the SP version or whatever, and
SP version.
It doesn't
you still
start
have to
you
get
in the final. I thought it just started you on the final. That castle. What's it called?
Well, it could, because I think there could be more than one SP version out there.
Okay.
The one I played, you just start with all your levels maxed out. No items. Okay. The heart meter and magic meter, you still have to go get those upgrades.
Okay.
But all your levels are maxed out, so there's no grinding. And of course, up until about the second to last dungeon, you're pretty overpowered. Most of the enemies are pretty easy. Until you get to the last dungeon and you get to fight the like blue bird that throws knives or whatever. I'm sure he has a real name, but that thing is just is unbelievably brutal. Anyhow, this is like another. I described Kid Icarus as being a good weird game, and this is also kind of good weird. Like I get sometimes the translation being a little bit off, but the dialogue is weird even when it's translated like from the original Japanese. So it's just a weird. It's just the game is very weird and unsettling, and the dialogue is all just a little bit off. I mentioned that even if you start max levels, it's still a pretty difficult game, and that's true really as you progress, because you don't get healing items. Like enemies don't drop healing items. Occasionally, an enemy will drop a potion that can refill your magic meter, but then you got to use up your magic meter to heal, right?
Yeah.
Like, it just doesn't. It's just brutal. But at the same time, I think there's like a lot of revisionist history around this game. So I think a lot of people think this was like a big disappointment and people hated this game. My recollection is this was a very popular game at the time, and people thought it was an excellent game.
Yeah, me and my friends liked it for sure.
Yeah, so I think that's purely like, again, revisionist history.
Yeah, I have it in my notes. Said I don't remember anyone saying anything bad about it back at the time, and even when we said that this was going to be the game for the game club, nobody said anything negative on the socials or in the Discord.
Yeah,
So like that it was like this not well received sequel that was too weird or whatever. Like I have no recollection of that.
yeah, I don't think that is. I think that's a false memory or something. People are look. I don't remember anyone
Mandela
complaining
effect.
about Jar Jar Binks either. Right?
Oh, I do.
I was.
I do. Yeah.
It was years later when I heard people complain about him. In 1999, I didn't hear anyone complain about Jar Jar.
Well, if
So-
you had known me in 1999,
Okay, you complained about it. I don't remember anything negative about it, man.
Zach, in 1999, I picture you dressing like Matrix trench coat. Sunglasses.
No, it was more. I was like still super grunge phase, flannel,
I was gonna say it was
bleach blonde hair.
It was around April 1999 that the trench coat very, very rapidly went out of style.
Became unpopular.
Yeah. So here's the one bad thing. I will say one negative thing about the game, and I said kind of this time, is you have to die before you fight the last boss. So the second, like I get it, like the very, very last boss, the kind of surprise boss is easy. Like that fight's super easy. But the one before it, you can only damage them after you cast Thunder. But at this point, your magic meter is down to 0. So all you can do is just die immediately. So then you respawn, you burn up one of your extra lives, and then you have a full magic meter. So I looked up, I watched the end of the 100% deathless speedrun record on Real Hardware. And what they do is they wait, they hold off on gaining their last level until the last enemy before the second to last boss. So they kill an
takes
enemy
a
for
lot
like,
of
I don't know,
planning.
10 experience points or whatever. And then they get the prompt to upgrade, and they upgrade their magic, which then refills the meter.
Oh, okay.
I'm like, yeah, okay. Well, they're smarter than me. I wouldn't have thought of that.
No kid would have either.
Right, yeah. So the one thing I link out to an article from the Los Angeles Times. I can't pronounce LA Times. I say LA Times because I can't pronounce the full name. May 26th, 1988. High-tech crisis forces publishers to make tough choices. Shortage of memory chips hurting video game makers. And this was about the real issue at that time period where this game was delayed because of chip shortages. That was like a real thing in the news that people were. That's how popular Zelda had gotten at that point, despite only having one game out. That real news actually talked about a Zelda sequel being delayed.
Yeah, what caused that chip shortage again? Because there was a few before and after that.
The shortfall was created when producers split their production capacity to meet the demand for 2 chip markets.
Oh, SRAM and DRAM, right?
Consequently, Hewlett-Packard has indefinitely delayed the rollout of a new personal computer. Apple is rumored to have temporarily shelved plans for a new version of its popular Macintosh model. And Sun Microsystems has raised prices. So there you go.
There you go.
There you go. And then, of course, I think you put this in notes too, but like the tool-assisted speed runs are just hilarious to watch.
Yeah, I enjoy watching speedruns of this. I kind of do all the time. Not like, I mean, people who may have gotten close to the record, but not the actual person that has it, I don't think. But yeah, like you said, as a kid, I really liked this game. I didn't own it as a kid. I own it now. But all of my friends had it, and a few of my friends didn't like it because it was too different from the first one. But for the most part, we had fun playing it, And I think the people who didn't like it just wanted a hack and slash game. You know what I mean? Like, they didn't want an RPG like Zelda kind of is. But
I think they wanted just Legend of Zelda again. I think that was a lot of the hate. Just do the same thing all over again.
But they learned their lesson from Mario Brothers 2, right?
Yeah.
People don't actually want the same thing until they do, and they get a Link to the Past, and it's fantastic. Zach, what do you think about this one?
This is one I did play as a kid. I had an NES, but I didn't really have the funds to buy every game that came out. And kid at my school made the mistake of telling me that he had Zelda 2 and that I could borrow it when he was done with it. And I hounded him every day to see if he was done with it yet. And I'd sometimes call him on the weekend, And then eventually he did let me borrow it, and I did beat it. I have to assume I had a guide or something. I don't know if it's one I could have done without a guide. I do recall liking it. I was fine with it being a totally different game than the first one. I like the leveling system and that you get additional attack moves and magic. And of course, I still remember being frustrated by the final palace. And then I played it again more recently. I don't know, maybe like 2019, whenever it came out on the Switch Online service. I played it with my older son, who was around 5 at the time. I was basically playing it and he was watching it. Mm-hmm. And I remember I made liberal use of the save states and rewind. And other than the overworld music, I still like it a lot. That overworld music gets tiring real quick.
I like the dungeon music for sure.
Yeah. Oh, it's really good. Really good dungeon music.
And the intro music is great. And the death, the Ganon at the death is really good.
Yes. Yeah, I like that. It's a nice touch. And on your recommendation, I watched an any percent speed run just to, see all the glitching that they do to get through that. And I realized that I'd seen it before, and I was worried maybe that somebody had picked this game already. Like one of you guys picked it already. So I went and searched the master list, and Zelda 2 was not on there already, but Link to the Past was on there twice. I don't know if we ever caught that before.
I don't think we did.
Yeah, Hughes picked it, season 2, episode 1, and then season 2, episode 26, Rob from Retro RGB was the guest, and he picked it.
Oh, that happens. Okay. We let guests pick whatever they want.
Yeah, I would say that doesn't count because how would they know what we picked?
Right. But I didn't re-listen to the episodes to see if you guys addressed that or not. But and I think that's right around when I started helping. So I don't know. You can blame it on me.
No, we're not going to tell a guest no.
No, we picked that 25 episodes ago. Don't you listen, you.
But I like the game. It holds up. I've always been a fan of it.
Yeah, good. Yeah, I'm glad you pointed out the music. I do think it is fantastic. And the overworld music, yeah, it's good, but after a while, oh my God. Speaking of revisionist history, one thing a lot of people don't realize or remember is these games came with, manuals or maps, and the original Zelda, a lot of people think like, how did you get through this when you were a kid? Like, we had a map. It came with a map.
Yeah.
The map and Nintendo Power. Zelda 2 had a lot of Nintendo Power coverage and had an overworld map.
And everyone had Nintendo Power, or like your friend's brother had it and you borrowed it. Yeah. It was widely available. Now you download a ROM and you're like, I don't know what to do. This game sucks. It's not the same at all.
That I skipped over something actually when we were talking at the beginning. I meant to bring it up. There was a guy on the plane next to me between Midway and San Diego. He had a little handheld emulation device, right? And he was scrolling through a bunch of NES games, and he started playing Metroid, the NES Metroid, and immediately started going right. And I was like, hey, have you played this before? And he's like, yeah, I think so. And then it took him a long time to figure it out, and he gave up on that pretty quickly. So yeah, I feel your point there, Rob.
The Metroid Nintendo Power may be one of the best. Like, that is the most impressive screenshotting I have ever seen in my life.
I wonder if there's a tool-assisted speedrun, though, where you can skip the morph ball.
Oh.
Maybe that's what he was trying to do.
Almost immediately need to go under, like go through a small space when you go right. So I don't know how you get through that. There might be some kind of glitch, but there's no doorway before that, so you can't do like the doorway trick or anything.
I mean, they have no jump Super Mario 64 speedruns, so maybe it's possible.
Yeah, I mean, the lowest speedrun is 7 minutes, 57 seconds.
I watched that recently. That came up on one of the other podcasts I was on recently.
Okay, and he definitely gets the morph ball, you're saying.
Yeah.
Well,
yes.
I would verify, but I have a bunch of ads I have to wait through.
He basically, what does he do? He gets 5 missiles so he can get to the red door to kill Kraid. I forget why he needs to kill Kraid specifically, because he doesn't need to kill Ridley.
You just need the missiles. You need enough missiles to fight the mother brain. That
must be it. And then does like freezes whatever it is in the room where you would normally need to kill the two Kraid and Ridley to get the bridge. You kind of skip that by freezing the little doodad guy.
That's a trick even we figured out in like the 80s.
Did you pull it off? There's no way.
I can actually pull that trick off. That's not very hard to do.
It looks hard.
No, you just have to lure the one flying like a space wasp into the room. Then you freeze him, then you jump and you bomb off him. I mean, the tool assisted guy is probably doing something fancier, and faster. It's just the basic of like you lure the space wasp into the room and then you freeze them, and then do a bomb, where you bomb and boost up. Hold on, I'm skipping to that part of the video. All right, so he lures the little space wasp in, flies underneath. He freezes it. Oh, he does. Yeah, he glitches through the floor. That looks hard. What he does definitely looks hard, but the way we did it,
that is a tool-assisted run though, and it's really impressive. Even though it's tool-assisted, it's really impressive to see the jumps up the vertical columns, especially at the end after you beat Mother Brain. It's just like barely stopping.
Yeah, I love that game so much. What game you want to play next?
All right, so this is going to be my second to last pick ever. Maybe technically third. I don't know. Alex Kidd in Miracle World. It's because I have a sheet of games I wanted to talk about. And over the past year, I've been knocking down some of the big ones, like Zelda 2 and Kid Icarus, that kind of stuff. This one's been first on the list for a very long time because I had it sorted alphabetically.
Nice.
So I'm going to do Alex Kidd in Miracle World.
What are you going to play it on?
Probably on the original Master System.
Yeah.
I've got the card. I've got the hardware. I've got this little handheld Sega unit though, so I might play it on that instead.
You're not going to play it on the new Sega Vaporware thing?
No, I'm not. Not the Sega Scamatron 2000. No, I have like a little Sega handheld device that was sold in Target that has like a dozen Master System games on it.
Cool. I'm going to do Tomb Raider. I will likely be playing on the Evercade.
Okay.
They have that on the Evercade, huh?
Yeah, wait, let me see. I got it here somewhere. Yeah, got it right.
Oh, the Tomb Raider collection. I guess that makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, kind of cool. So we shall see.
I think I actually own this on the Saturn that we just talked about.
Nice. That'd be a good place to play it, I think.
Interesting. Yeah.
So I don't have it on. I don't believe I have it for the PlayStation, but I think I got it at like a Goodwill, back when you could still find video games at Goodwill, forever ago. And I don't think I ever sold that one. And I'm like, Tomb Raider, I'll try that eventually.
I played that one a lot. Like when 1996 winter break, when, because colleges gave you a month off.
Yeah.
I had nothing to do because it was winter. So I spent a lot I never beat it though. You'd think you could get through that.
Well, if any of our listeners play Alex Kidd in Miracle World, Tomb Raider, Zelda 2, Zelda 2, Link's Big Adventure, I could say, Bonk 3, Bonk's Big Adventure. If you want to tell us which DS games you would like to play and what your weirdest DS games are, if you download, I can't believe I'm saying this word again, InfeZtation for your C64, or if you do the uncensored translation of Princess Crown or anything like that, please email us. Email at retrogameclub.net. That is email at retrogameclub.net. And Zach, who is on with us, obviously, has all of our socials, and they're all listed in our show notes. And our Discord has been kind of blowing up, so please get in on that. And we have a few emails this time. Well, at least one. A lot of social.
Just one. Yes. I got one from Mazers here. Talk about the Dollar General knockoff games being gone too. He was buying like a $10 Nintendo on a chip device there for at least once. And at one point, Dollar General had the Intellivision Flashback. And they may even had some kind of exclusive unit. I bought... Yeah, they were carrying those. I don't think they carried the Coleco Flashback, which was out at the same time. But yeah, that was... Yeah, I haven't been in a Dollar General in a while because I don't see any good gaming stuff there anymore. RPG summarize feature that you wished existed. He said he wants to comment that Phantasy Star 4 and the Genesis had a talk feature with your party members that would do exactly that. When conversing with the other party members, they would offer up tidbits such as, I think we should go south. Or, Dr. Moltavia wanted us to bring them a burger.
That's all we need to know. Yeah.
Favorite Tetris ports. He's played a lot of Tetris on the 3DS, which is recommends, but also the Wonder Swan release of Tetris is apparently very good.
That is very expensive. Very expensive.
And he also seconds that the CDI version of Tetris has a great soundtrack. Ripping laser discs. If you want to watch a laser disc. Laser discs are analog. So if you want to rip them, you have to do it like a really old school way. Like, I'm trying to, like, I guess it'd be like more like a video capture you'd have to do.
Yeah. I did that for the Star Wars trilogy.
Okay.
Because the VHS version, well, Laserdisc is like twice the resolution or something like that. I don't remember exactly. But yeah, you couldn't get a unadulterated version of it on better media than Laserdisc. So I still have those somewhere.
Yeah. My wife has it on beta.
Nice. That's also better quality than VHS. And I believe that is also, that might be the only surviving like Han shoots first cut movie. But that's, yeah, the same. Laserdisc is the same way.
Yeah.
Now, we don't have a beta player.
I think I got rid of my Laserdisc player too.
Betamax. I'm sure I could find a Betamax player, in a basement somewhere.
Yeah.
That's where I found, by the way, for my wife, the Star Wars Betamax tapes, literally in the basement of an estate sale. They had, one of those old school like wood grain, the particle board cabinets.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
and it was just a bunch of beta movies. And I'm like, oh, Star Wars. I better get that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Good find.
I can't remember if they had the complete trilogy or just the first one now. I have to go look at her collection to see what it is.
All right. Thank you, Majors, for that. We have some social. Let's see. What's the best way to organize your TurboGrafx 16 CD or PC Engine games? Alphabetically, by system type, or by color code, or other? And what do some people say? What's that? ODHD. Did I pronounce that right?
ADHD.
ADHD.
It's supposed to be like ADHD. That's his thing. That's St. John. St. John from Nerd Noise Radio.
Nice. So yeah, and
I
in
just put that up
Discord,
there because that's the name he was using to reply.
yeah. In Discord, he replied, and for the purpose of organizing, he doesn't distinguish between HuCard and CD games, but just between PCE and TurboGrafx. So just by region and alphabetically. And that's exactly how I have mine. And it looks really ugly that way, but you can find your games. And then Pigeonfish writes in from Facebook saying he's the wrong person to ask because anything with a jewel case he just keeps in a box, and then he has a ton of loose Hue cards in trading card sleeves because he's playing them, like ROM style now. So no reason to pull those out. I do not blame him. Zach, you feel like taking the next two?
Sure. I think there's only one more, isn't there?
Oh, yeah, there's one more. Yeah.
Starsky, also on our Discord, said this was about Zelda 2, actually. He says Zelda 2 holds a special place in his retro heart. With Zelda 1, he got in a lot of trouble for calling the Nintendo hotline, hint line, which I don't remember what that cost, but it certainly wasn't cheap. No kid understands what a 1-900 number is. So for Zelda 2, I guess he learned his lesson. He wrote a letter to Nintendo Power asking where to find the hammer, and sometime later he got a beautifully typed letter back from Nintendo. It was a full page, but he only remembers the tip that they offered for getting through Death Mountain: right if you can, down if you can't. This helps you both in the overworld portion and if you decide, and if you have to decide to pick a path in one of the side-scroller sections. He also says he had to use a Game Genie for infinite lives to beat that game, and it epitomizes Nintendo hard.
Yeah.
I just lost my notes for a second. I had a thought. The right if you can, down if you can't. I was just thinking of that today because, last night, because in the end of, or near the end of Echoes of Wisdom, there's a forest part. I won't say more than that. But I thought it was kind of like thought it was going to be like the Lost Woods, and it's not. But so I was going right, and then down where I could, just hoping that would be the right thing to do. And it wasn't, but.
Yeah, I like that part though.
Yeah, it was perfectly fine once I figured out that it wasn't like the Lost Woods.
Yeah, I think I did the same thing too. All right, what's the next question of the episode?
We have, what are some notable console to DOS ports? That might mean the best, the worst, or the most unique. I know that there's like Castlevania,
Mega Man.
Mega Man.
The Mega Man ones are kind of notorious. A lot of those they won't scroll side to side, right? So you kind of have the screen transition.
Yeah.
Actually, I think in Castlevania, it's even worse. It's like the screen doesn't transition. It's just like you're on the next screen and you're on the other side of the screen,
Yep.
So, well, I'd be curious to see what kind of answers people have.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot we don't know about that our listeners do. And yeah, so please email us, email@retrogameclub.net. Hit us up on our socials, which are in the show notes, and definitely try to get on the Discord server. And we have Alex Kidd in Miracle World and Tomb Raider for the next episode. And I think that wraps it up.
Yeah, so thanks for listening.